Hey there, teeth lover. Welcome to today's show where, of course, we're going to be talking about all things strengthening. But today we're going to shift a little bit. Well, a lot of times I talk about exercises to do, exercises to avoid. And of course that's important. But what's more important than exercise selection is like how you're actually performing the movement, how you are moving the weight in the gym. And more specifically, the actual technique that you're utilizing, right? This is very overlooked, and this is something that I am like a form police. So today I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to build muscle efficiently without the aches. So stay tuned. Here we go.
Hey there! Welcome to the Lift for Longevity podcast, where our goal is to build our strongest, healthiest body. We all deserve to feel our best, but since we only get one body, we have to make sure to protect it by moving safely and with purpose to prevent pain, injury, and surgery. I'm your host, Brianne, and I'm a fit pro turned business owner and also a girl mom. I'm obsessed with educating and empowering dental pros on how to take care of their body by training efficiently and building the right muscles to prolong their career. I know you're tired of spending time working out but still dealing with annoying aches and pains, getting rid of your pain temporarily only to have it come right back just a few hours later, or feeling like you never have any energy. You wish there was a long-term solution to get rid of your pain for good. Well, I'm here to give you real-life, actionable steps that you can take today to get rid of your pain, say goodbye to quick fixes, and have energy to live a life that you love. So if you're ready to get stronger, enjoy your life outside the operatory, and have longevity in your career, grab yourself a high-protein snack and let's get to it.
So today we're talking about the most important factor when it comes to strength training, right? And I can give you an analogy right in the dental world, right? If you are watching your patient brush their teeth and they're like doing it all wrong and you're like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like you're just like, baffled. Or if you see them flossing incorrectly or like aggressively, right? If they're doing things like totally wrong, not efficient, like your blood might start to boil. I don't know, but that's how I feel when I see people performing exercises wrong because, you're doing yourself a disservice, right? If you're putting in the time, right? Flossing takes 30 seconds, maybe a minute. Same thing with brushing. But if you're spending an hour, 45 minutes of your day working out and doing all these things inefficiently, whether you're doing it in a class or with a trainer or by yourself, like I'm very passionate about what I do, right? And there's a reason that my clients get results. So when I see people doing things incorrectly, it bothers me, right? And I want to help fix that, right? That's why I try and educate, all my clients or people that, come across my Instagram page or my podcast or wherever. So, okay, without like ranting on too much, I'm going to start by giving you 3 tips how to strengthen, how to build muscle appropriately, right? So the first item that I'm going to be talking about, or the first factor, is going to be mind-muscle connection. So I don't know if you've heard of that. If you have, great. If you haven't, that's an issue, but I understand it. Basically, it's so important. It's that deliberate muscle contraction, right? It's like activating it, right? Not just going through the motions. So, if you ever watch, like, I don't know if you watch a lot of people on Instagram on fitness, but if you watch like a bodybuilder, for example, like they are sometimes even putting their hand on the muscle that they're working. I do that too, even though I can feel it in my head. But basically, mind muscle contraction is where you feel it, right? I used to work in the gym. If you don't know my story, like before I started coaching online, I was training in the gym for 10 years. And I would always ask people, like, where do you feel that? I don't know. Okay, this is a huge problem. Like, you need to know why you're doing this exercise, where you should be feeling it, right? And there's some people who, like, for example, can't activate their glutes, right? So that's a problem too. Like, if you're not able to even get that mind muscle contraction neuromuscularly, then, that's like a whole other issue, but we won't go into that today. It's basically like you need to make sure that you're feeling the muscle that you're intending to work, right? Whether it's from, the minute that you flex and you put your hand on the dumbbell or the kettlebell or wherever through the entire range of motion, right? Start to finish. Like this is something that is so overlooked and it's extremely important. This is how I've built muscle, myself and with my clients over the years is, this is something I teach in my program as well, is like making sure that mind muscle contraction is on your mind, essentially, right? No pun intended. Every single rep, every single exercise, right? Don't just go through the motions. You're just wasting your time, right? And if you don't know where you should be feeling it, right, then we need to ask, right? You need to ask, like, or if it's a squat, right, you should be feeling it in multiple areas, but there's also things that you shouldn't be feeling. So just be really cognizant of focusing on slowing things down and performing them correctly with the right form and technique, right? So that brings me to my second topic is time under tension. So essentially, I've talked about this before briefly, but time under tension is another thing that's very, very overlooked. And I'll give you this example of every time I screen somebody, their squat, I blink and they're like back up. I'm like, dude, I didn't even see what you did. Like, you're just going through the motions. And I don't know if they're uncomfortable squatting in front of me on Zoom, but it doesn't matter, right? Because I guarantee that's how they're squatting in real life. And this is why I always have my clients send me videos so that I can give them feedback and critique, because these little details are going to make you or break you literally when it comes to either getting injured or building strength or building muscle, whatever your goal is. Like, these are the details that kind of across the board are really, really important when it comes to if you got a weight in your hand, basically, right? Or resistance training, strength training. Okay, so back to time under tension. Essentially, it's the amount of strain or the time that your muscle is under strain. So like I've talked before about eccentrics, right? Like if you're going to slow down that tempo, like instead of just, going through 10 reps really quickly, take 5 seconds to do 1 rep. Sometimes physical therapists do this, even without weight. Like, it is hella hard, right? Because you're forcing that muscle to work overtime, right? And so instead of, just going through the motions for 10 reps, chances are, if you slow it down for 5 seconds, you probably wouldn't even be able to get 10 reps in. That's what I'm talking about, that time under tension. The longer the muscle works, it's going to have to recruit more muscle fibers, essentially, which is how muscles build and grow, right? And how we get toned and defined, right? Okay, so that's my second tip. And then my third tip, I don't want to go into too much detail about it, but it's the scale of RPE, rate of perceived exertion, right? And it's kind of like, I'll compare this to, like, say when you go to the doctor, right? And they got that chart of like 1 to 10 on your pain, right? 1's a happy face and 2's like a sad face. It's, it's different than that, but it's similar to that, right? It's kind of like, how are you feeling during this set of exercises, right? So if you go to, for example, like a PT, they might tell you to do like 3 sets of 10 reps. Okay, cool. Well, that's going to do nothing, right? That might help you after an injury or gain mobility or maybe a little bit of strength. But in the long run, you're going to plateau. Nothing's going to change. You're going to get bored. You know what I mean? And it's just like a waste of time at that point. But when you're using like an RPE scale, again, this is another reason why I have my clients send me videos, because I can see immediately, like, if it's too easy for you. And before I go on too much further of this, I want to share an example that popped in my head the other day, because I was at the gym, not my regular gym, but this gym I've been boxing at for many, many years. And they have trainers there essentially that have no idea what they're doing. They're boxers and they try and strength train, right? Okay, but my point is, I was deadlifting in the back watching, this is my friend, coach this lady, and she's doing lateral raises with like 10s, right? Which, that might be a fine weight. It might not be, whatever. The point is, he was like asking her if that was too heavy or too light. Okay, well, like, you should be able to identify that, first of all, as a professional. But second of all, I can immediately tell when somebody's like, you should be like, no, this is all I can do, right? And be very firm and assured of that. Like, if you know you can't do heavier weight, then that's where you should be at, right? So, I'm not trying to like talk negatively, but like, this is something that you should kind of learn over time, right? I mean, the RPE scale, like, it's a lot for powerlifters, right? Like, it could get very, very scientific with like 80% of your 1 rack max rep and, PRs and all that stuff. And I'm not trying to go into too much detail on it, but I'll give you an example. Like 1, you should never be at a 1, right? 1, your warm-up should be at like a 4, right? You're kind of just going through the motions, sort of. You're still feeling it. You're taking your time. You're doing it with control, but you're not having to like exert too much force, too much energy, right? So like a 4 or 5 is like your warm-up, more focused on form. Or like I said earlier, like if you're going to do something with an eccentric, right? Like, you're not going to go super heavy, right? You're going to stay more at like less reps essentially. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, you don't want to be at a 10 or a 9. Like, that's just crazy, right? And we're working on improving muscle imbalances and preventing injury and gaining mobility and, building those underactive muscles. So it really depends on the exercise itself. I give this to my clients, but depending on the weight, like you might want to do a couple more. Or I remember when I was first working in the gym, I was 17 years old and this bodybuilder was training me and I was doing like a leg extension machine, but he was like, are you done? I'm like, yes. He's like, do 2 more. So that's like always been my rule of thumb, do 2 more. But with that being said, it's like you need to make sure that you're not forcing those 2. Like if you have 2 more in the tank, do it, right? But you don't ever want to compromise form just to go heavier, right? Like that totally defeats the purpose, and that's like how you're going to get injured, right? We want to make sure that we're lifting safely and with control. So just a thing to keep in mind, right? So basically, if you're going and doing like a fitness class or a beach body, which I don't recommend in case you haven't listened to me chat before, but basically you're just, you're doing 10 of this or 30 seconds of this. Like you're not paying attention to any of these. You're not paying attention to mind-muscle connection for sure. Most of the time you're watching what the trainer is doing or other people are doing or whatever. Or time and attention. A lot of times people, like if you're doing HIIT or things like that, like things are just so fast paced and it's just really like an oxymoron, right? Strength training should be very slow and controlled. This is how you build muscle and get stronger and lift safely, right? And I know I'm saying these things over and over and reiterating, but it's true, right? There's a reason that I have been strength training for so long and helping other clients, women, build muscle and avoid injury and fix their imbalances, right? Is because I've been doing this for a long, long time. Okay, so off my soapbox, but anyways, and that RP is another thing that's not really paid attention to either, right? Or if you go to Orange Theory, they're like, pay attention to your heart rate. Okay, nobody cares about your heart rate. Like there's a reason nobody else pays attention to that besides Orange Theory because it doesn't matter. So anyways, not to again, I'm not trying to bash on anything like this, but I'm really just trying to give you that education, that knowledge of like, how do you actually get results? How are you going to train effectively in the least amount of time, get the most results and prevent injury, right? And MSDs and all the things, surgery that we're trying to avoid. So that's all I have for today. I hope this was helpful. Shoot me a DM, of course, if you have any questions in specific or if you want a little bit more information. I am happy to share my knowledge with you and have a wonderful week.
Thank you so much for listening in today. I hope you got a takeaway from this episode. And if you did, would you be so kind to share it with another dental pro you think would benefit from it? I know you love learning and chances are that they do too. Also, I would love to connect with you on Instagram, so go ahead and head over to the Lift for Longevity podcast page or follow me at Built by Brianne. If you shoot me a message saying hello, I will personally respond because I love chatting with dental pros. Before you go though, I want to let you know that I appreciate you and what you do, and I hope to chat soon. Until next time, stay strong.